Hey everyone, I'm just going to show you how to do some tags today. I have a box here, Egypt Ancient it says on the front. It's an old lantern slide box, but it's really useful for keeping tags in. And I do like to do some tags. I like to have tags around that I can add into journal work and that I can just send as gifts or attach to gifts. And my current favourites are these huge manila ones, which are like the Tim Holtz ones. They're the kind of ones he uses, they're that size. I got this big pack from Craft Obsessions actually, and it was a bit of a bargain, 50. So I've been working my way through those because I do use them quite a bit. And the thing I thought I'd show you today was this little baby here. I don't know if you can quite see that. Can you see that? Shiny, grungy looking. Grungy and old looking. Yeah. I thought I'd show you how to do that one today. So, yeah, let's have a go. Okay, so the first thing we need is some glimmer mist. This one I've got here is actually Cosmic Shimmer Mist, and the colour is, I don't know, I don't have my glasses on, but it's a red. Oh, here we go, Red Firefly. But any of these sort of shimmer mists would do, and just choose a colour that you like, really. I like the red because when you get it underneath, I don't know if you can see it on the original tag, when you get it underneath, it kind of looks, oh no, I can't get it into the camera shot now. Oh, there you go. It kind of looks a bit like worn old leather or something, which is kind of nice. So I'm going to stick with red. So the other thing I have here is a Crafter's Workshop stencil, and this is the grungy Harlequin one. It's just a 6-inch one. Really nice for spraying through. And my manila tag, so I'm just going to lightly spray here and there with that, if it works. I've just had to wash this out actually because it was blocked up and now it doesn't want to work at all. Oh no, it's not working. Oh, hold on a sec. Okay, that is the problem with these things, I find. They do block up really easily and then they don't want to unblock. So now I have red hands, but anyway, it should be working now. So just a little bit of spritzing, a bit splattery, but never mind. There we go. Just take that off like that. Oh! And because I don't like to waste anything, I'm now going to put another one down and just do that. And now I'll have even redder hands, but hey. So then we get a nice, ooh, like that. Nice. Yeah, I'm liking that one. Just put that to one side. Okay. So that's the first step. That needs to dry, so I'll let that just dry off, or I'll dry it off, and I'll be back in a sec. Okay, so I don't know if you can see that. Got a nice bit of shimmer going on there. It's now dry, so the next thing we need to do is start putting some ink on it. I have one of these blending tools which are jolly useful, but if you don't have one of those you could use a makeup sponge. That would work equally well. You can usually get those in packs from the chemist, which are pretty cheap. I don't actually have, I only actually have 2 pads for this, so it's all a bit messy, but I'm going to start off with some walnut stain, of which my ink pad is very dry, so I have to give it a good rub. And then just blend it onto the top part there. And down a bit. You're going to get this quite dark because for the next stage you need a pretty good depth of colour, and you will cover up pretty much all the red that you've stenciled. But what you will get showing through, and I'll show you that in a minute, hopefully, is just a faint suggestion of red and a nice bit of gold sparkle. Can you see that? I don't know if the camera's picking it up very well, but trust me, it's there. So just keep doing that until you've got a nice bit of depth of colour at the top. And then once you've got enough to make it fairly dark, we're going to go on to Vintage Photo, which is much more inky, so that one I don't have to work so hard with. So we're just going to rub that over the bottom part. And again, it will cover up pretty much all the red stencil. Incidentally, if you don't have one of those silicone craft sheets, which I don't, I keep meaning to get one but I haven't got around to it. The thing I've got here underneath this tag is a very low cost alternative. I'll just show you. See the expert self-taping on the back there? That's real precision stuff that right there. All this is a piece of pasteboard and some freezer paper. Now I'm a quilter as well as being a mucker about with paints and inks, so I have freezer paper anyway. I know in the UK it's a bit specialised and it might not be quite so easy to get hold of, but you can get it from usually from anywhere that sells quilting products. So look out for it because it does have loads of uses apart from quilting and it is really useful stuff. But if you want to make your own little sort of ink blending mat that you can spray inks onto and then a la Tim Holtz inks and then just dabble things in, this is a good substitute. It works pretty well and you can just wipe it clean when you're finished and it'll last you probably for, well, I don't know how many goes, but it'll last you a good while. And the thing is, it costs virtually nothing once you've got the freezer paper, which you can get on big rolls, so that'll last you ages as well. And yeah, it just makes a good cheap alternative, really. Okay, so we've got a nice bit of colour on there. I might just do a little bit more of that on the bottom, just so, and then we'll just blend it into the top part. Okay, so I think that'll do it for now, hopefully. So that's how it's looking now. Can you see how the gold is just peeking through and a tiny bit of red, but not too much. Okay, I'm just going to go get stuff for the next stage of this and then I'll be back. Okay, for the next bit, this is a trick that Diane Reevely showed on one of her videos, and I've had mixed results with it. I haven't had any as spectacular as she does, but it's still quite a fun thing to do. Once you've got to this stage, get a bowl of really frothy, soapy washing up water. Just, you know, warm water and a bit of washing up liquid in it. And then just lightly dab your tag on it. So it collects bubbles. That's what you're after. And keep doing that just a bit. Don't stick it all the way down into the water if you can avoid it, because that just makes a mess. But your aim is to get the froth on it, really. You don't have to get it all over and it doesn't have to be even. Just a selection of froth. Okay, so we'll put that to one side. And I'll just dry that off because that's the next step. You do need a heat gun for this, really, because it doesn't work otherwise very well. So I'm just going to dry that off. Okay, that's dry. And can you see now what's happened? You see all that lovely texture you've got there? It's like, well, I guess it is like water damage on leather, or perhaps rusty metal, that kind of thing. But I just love it. I think it looks really good, and actually that's the best one I've managed to get so far off that technique, so maybe I just needed to practice a bit more. Okay, so that's where we're up to now. The next step in all this is to do some stenciling through with gesso. Now I've been using black gesso for these because they're quite dark, and I have some, what's it called? Punchinella. And what you're going to do is just lay that on there and just pounce through with some gesso on it. I'm not sure where I've put my black gesso. I'm so organised. Hold on 1 second. Okay, there we go. Right, if you don't have black gesso, then you could use clear if you've got that. You could use white, but obviously the result won't be quite the same. So just choose what you want to do. For that matter, actually, you could emboss. You could use a stamp or something to emboss with embossing ink and then powder on top. But if you're going to do that, make sure this is all absolutely dry, completely and utterly dry, because otherwise you'll get random bits everywhere. But for the technique I'm doing, I'm just going to show you how to do it with the Punchinella, because that's quite easy to work with, and I happen to have black gesso, so hey. So all you need really is a little sponge, or I got this lovely little thing on a stick from a children's pack of art materials, which was being sold off super cheap in the supermarket, so that's what I got. And then just do plonk into it like that. And we're going to do quite sort of, we're aiming to get a bit of texture in here, so don't be too smoothing about it. Try and get it to be sort of a bit textury, and this is always a bit of a mixed result, I find, because when you're trying to stencil with gesso, sometimes it just splurges out the stencil all over the place, and sometimes you get a really nice result with it. Let's just pick up a corner and see what's happened there. I think that's going to be okay. Okay, we're going to leave it at that. Because we don't want to cover up all that lovely background we've done. But that just gives it an extra little bit of something. I might just put a tiny bit up there, possibly. Just a little bit more there. Yeah, you see, this is where it's going to go all splurgy, and I'm going to make a real mess. Yeah, I made a mess. Okay. I'm just going to dry that off, and then I'll be back again. The next ingredient we need is this little guy. This is a pot of Florentine Treasure Gold. These treasure waxes are absolutely fabulous for doing all sorts of things. And what we're going to do here is just very lightly rub this over the top of the gesso. So just put a little bit on your finger. You don't need a lot at all. It goes a heck of a long way. I've had this pot for probably 5 years, and I don't use it masses, but I do use it, and as you can see there's barely a dent in it so far. I think it's designed originally for furniture gilding, that kind of thing, for just, you know, going around picture frames and stuff, which obviously you could use it for. But I find it really nice for working with textured things, to just wipe over the top. So I'm just going to put a little bit, just very lightly, just do it very lightly, barely touching the paper. Just skid over the top of those gessos, those gesso dots that you did. You're going to do more than one coat on here. This isn't it. It'll look better than this, trust me. A bit more. And sometimes you'll find it goes into the background as well. If you haven't got enough texture, it'll go into the background, but that doesn't matter because it still looks good. Whether it's going over the top or permeating the whole thing, it really doesn't matter. It still looks fantastic and spectacular. So just keep doing that until you're happy with it. You can cover all the dots if you want. You can cover some of them. If you're embossing, of course, it will be a slightly different process. Let me just get that thing back there. There we go. It will be a slightly different process, obviously, to what I did, because you'd use ink and then you're embossing powder over the top and heat that. But this final stage is the same. You'd rub over the top with some wax. Now this stuff you can get, I actually got this at a sort of high-end decorator's shop when, well, as I say, many years ago, but you can get it online if you can't find it anywhere local to you. If you've got a shop that specialises in things like picture framing, they may well stock it, because it is, as I say, used for gilding picture frames. So, but the internet is your friend, as always, and you can usually find what you want on there if you can't find it anywhere else. So just keep working at it until you've got a finish you like. Now, as you can see there, I haven't completely covered the black everywhere, but I like that. I'm going for that really grungy, manky look, I think we'll call it. And it sure has that, you know. I don't know if you can see if I'm getting close, the light on it, the texture. It's got a nice lot of texture on it. What you have to do next, and this really is the final step, you're done now practically, is just leave it to just dry off, literally only for a minute or two. And then you need a soft cloth. Now, ideally you wouldn't use paper towel, you'd use something a bit softer, but this is an old piece of paper towel, so it's gone fairly soft. And once it's had its minute or two to dry, what you do then is you just very gently, just with a little piece, go over the top and buff it up. It will take some of it off, because you inevitably will do that, but it will also, can you see, bring up a fantastic shine on it. Really soft shine. We're not talking high gloss, but a really soft gold, like old gold, old Florentine gold indeed. You can get this in other colours, by the way. You can get pewter, I've got a pewter one. You can get various shades of gold and brass, I think, as well. So they really are a great little thing to have in your toolkit if you do lots of texture stuff. You know, you could add it to a card. You could make something to add to a card and use that texture. And as I say, if you do it with embossing, it'll come out a lot neater than mine has, because if you're not a fan of the grungy look, you might want something that looks a bit more precise. Anyway, you just do that until you've had enough of it, or until it looks as great as you want it to look. And then the final thing I usually do with most tags is just go all around the edge with a little bit of ink, just to give it a little bit of, almost like a little frame, I suppose. Just frames it. And that doesn't take very long, you can do that quite quickly. I'm literally only just touching up the edge of it. I'm not going into the body of the tag now, that's all done. But I'm just touching up the edge. And there you go. So I hope you'll see that was, although it's a few steps to it, that's really pretty easy to do. It's just a bit of play, really. You can't beat a bit of play with things, I think, arty. So have a go. You'll enjoy doing it, I promise you. And you will end up with a nice, shiny, I don't know, I think these look something like old leather, or possibly peeling old walls or something like that. But I just love it. Anyway, thanks for watching. This was the very first, but hopefully won't be the last, of these videos I do. See you soon.